Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Paul Thomas Anderson's Boogie Nights from 1997. So yes, we are back once again. This time, one of the most special films in all of cinema for me. And yes, it's one of the big ones. You could say it's the big one for me to discuss on this channel. And yes, it'll be a long discussion. Of course, there will be spoilers in this discussion. So if you haven't seen this film, simply, I recommend this to anyone who loves watching films. Just watch this film at some point, and then come back to this discussion, and you can rest assured, that you won't have any spoilers given to you. So yes, with that said, let's dig in. Let's continue to ride the high that I've experienced of Boogie Nights since I saw this back in February 2017, and we'll start with the personal story of this. And of course, this is the second feature film of this god of cinema for me. Anderson, Paul Thomas Anderson, is one of the absolute, easily top 10 filmmakers of all time for me. This guy, he's inspired me so much. He has just enthralled me and comforted me so much and made me he awoken something in me, and especially with this film here, when I first saw it, and more than most filmmakers, he is one of the most inspirational, kind of people I look up to, just ever in cinema history, and right up there with the very, very best, maybe a handful of filmmakers who has inspired me the most, and truly wowed me with this potentially magic medium that is cinema. And yes, originally seeing this February 2017, but I watched this. This year here was my fourth watch, and rewatching this, of course, on my birthday. So yeah, in the past it's been that was in August, of course, and in the past it's been The Godfather 1 and 2. It's been The Deer Hunter, all these films. So Boogie Nights, for that to be up there, it kind of signals my love for this film, and for me it's on that level of those films that I've mentioned. Wow, yeah, there indeed has the kind of perhaps spoilers for my end, kind of grading or whatever, but we'll start with a personal kind of journey. But it's one of those milestones. When I first saw this film, and I'd been seeking this out for a while, actually, this and Magnolia, of course. Behind me is a steelbook that I bought, and I literally had this urge to watch this film. I'd seen There Will Be Blood just after it came out, and I'd seen that. I was wowed by that film, but I had so much more to see. I'd seen no other Anderson films. I hadn't seen any apart from that film until 2017. So yeah, that's very wow. And this was the second film that I saw from this guy, and I was completely blown away. I got the steelbook, of course. It was quite expensive. I didn't really hear too much about this film, really, and because I kind of deprive myself at times from reading up on films, in the sense of trying to avoid spoilers, and the sense of wonder is greater when you just go into a film and you hear a general kind of consensus about a film, or filmmakers' work, and you just kind of go in and just you don't even watch a trailer. No, and I'm glad I didn't see the trailer, because seeing it kind of recently, I kind of see many spoilers potentially in the trailer, and just to see this film, I didn't know anything about it really. Of course it is based on this short mockumentary that Anderson made many years before it, but this is the completely different kind of experiences. This is a feature film, quite a decent length as well, and yes, but this film here, it's just wow. Of course, when I first saw this, I just literally put it in. I kind of bought the steelbook on the week. I just said, right, I'm going to watch this film. There's something inside that just really wants to see this and experience this, and there was a sense of I didn't know anything about this apart from the cast, of course, and the basic, kind of the content in the film. Perhaps this is of course following the lives, of these porn stars and these filmmakers in the adult industry, and of course in '77, it's the first year we kind of begin the filming, and it kind of ends in '84, following the lives of these characters in San Fernando Valley, and in LA, of course, and yes, this that's all I knew really. That's all I knew, and of course, written and directed by this god of cinema, this true god for me, and I just put it in, and of course, the first opening kind of tracking shot, which is one of the absolute best in all of cinema, just welcomes you to this magical land of just nostalgia. It does turn dark, as we know. It does turn dark later on in the film, and there is some really, for me anyway, powerful moments early on. But really, this is kind of for a lot of the film, purely uplifting experience, joyous occasion, and just the glory days of this industry, and just seeing, of course, these characters going through this kind of upbeat state, the kind of rise of Dirk Diggler, aka Eddie Adams, played by Mark Wahlberg. For me, his absolute best, without a shadow of a doubt. His best performance, and actually, for me, this is actually, I think every single one of these main characters, I think, the actors that play these characters, it could be all of their defining performances, just for, my love of them. Philip Seymour Hoffman, to me, is a true inspiration, and, I think, yes, I'd have to say this is my favourite character that he plays, Scotty J, which we'll get to, one of my favourite characters in cinema, but of course, John C. Reilly, I'd have to say, my favourite character that he plays, Burt Reynolds, easily, as well. You've got Heather Graham in this film, again, at the top of her game, Don Cheadle, Buck, played by Don Cheadle, one of my favourite characters in the film, and of course, Julianne Moore playing Amber Waves. All of these individuals here, for me, they just give their absolute best, and this for me is just such a special film. But of course, there's something tracking shot introduced us to this nightclub, and most of the main characters actually in this opening shot, long take here, and we see these characters. Some of them don't meet, or interact at first in this opening scene, but we do have most of the characters, at least seen in this shot, and just in a glorious kind of wonderful flowing sequence here, and this is just, of course, influenced by so many films. We're of course not going to get into specific films, but we know some of the big ones. Specifically in the '90s as well. But this one for me outdoes those films. Actually, and it goes way beyond films like this, and to the point of it's once I've seen this again, once I saw this on my birthday back in August this year. Once again, it reminded me, and it solidified its kind of space, its kind of slot in my top. And we'll get to that number towards the end of the video, so stick around if you're interested. But yes, seeing all these characters, and when I first saw this, that was all it needed. All these characters gliding around, and then the slow-mo when we meet Eddie Adams, and we have that gaze, of course. Jack Horner, played by Burt Reynolds, him recognising finally Eddie, and just, of course, he had been, we know that he's been there for a while, at least, and at this nightclub, simply, washing dishes, and going about, and this is when we first see a kind of the gaze here, and the kind of recognition that Jack gives Eddie, and from there we continue, and of course you have William H Macy kind of appearing into the frame there. He kind of moves into the frame, the next frame here, and just kind of calls over to Jack, and he plays Little Bill, a very, very special character as well in this film. Again, my favourite performance from this absolute legend. Truly, truly wonderful performance, and of course he kind of goes over to Jack, and we have Boney M, Sonny playing, and of course the opening track, after of course the big top plays in the credits, the opening track, Best of My Love, just Wonderful, magical music, of course, throughout this entire film. We'll try to mention as much as we can, because I'll go through this film in a kind of rough order while mentioning the different tracks. It's all part of the experience. The very soul of the film, living and breathing. The music is so important in this film. But of course, Sonny playing there, and we have kind of a comedic exchange there, and I love William H Macy. In this film here. In particular, it's true to the character. He played that moved me the most, and also just made me laugh the most of his entire career. And just seeing, of course, the interactions there. Of course, he's asking Jack, about the upcoming shoot, of course, for the next film. Yes, the kind of moment when he says, "Do we have a script?" And that's kind of a real summary of the early kind of workings of these individuals, and then of course, there's a kind of transition period which we'll get to when Jack kind of realizes his dream to kind of change these pictures and make them something a bit different, and add this kind of story to them, and this hook to these pictures that they're making, and the kind of transition. And we'll get to that, but once I saw this scene, going back to this first experience, February 2017, it's all it needed for me to just move forward even more, literally be transfixed to the screen, and literally just turning up to the max the volume, and just literally being hypnotized. And once I saw this, I had laughed, I'd cried, I had been uplifted, just taken to a kind of fantasy experience, purely, fantastical film. Of course, very gritty and dark as we go on, but it's just wow, so dreamlike, and just in the end, I just witnessed truly one of the most moving, epic, magical experiences in all of cinema. And I've rarely been so inspired and related to a film so much as with this whole narrative of just Eddie Adams eventually as well creating his own name, his own character of Dirk Diggler for these films. This whole narrative is so epic. It's so magical and just so investing. But it's such a human film. This film welcomes the viewer in such a way that I've rarely seen. I've rarely experienced a film like this. It's just a true privilege to be part of this experience, and it's so nostalgic. This film, 70s, 80s, of course, being made in the 90s as well. You've got all these decades. The music, the kind of the specifics for the industry, but really it's just part of this magic of seeing period film in this way. But there's also as well as 70s, 80s, and being a 90s film, there's something undescribable about this film. It really is. I can't describe a lot of this film, how and why I feel this way. This sense of nostalgia, this magic feeling. It just simply is. It could be very specific, in the way of interactions with the characters. This so unique and kind of warm family of outsiders that form in this film so organically, so magically. I can say that word over and over, but this film really, it's up there with films like Raiders of the Lost Ark, and films like this. It's just one of the most energetic and just magical films of all time. It puts a smile on my face. It moves me so much, and it just takes me to another land. Something I can truly relate to at times, and also just be up there in this kind of realm of cinematic majesty. I feel the way that Anderson writes this film, the way he directed this film is unlike any other. I am just blown away by this. The cinematography, all these tracking shots, all the push-ins, the kind of quick movements, it just dazzles me. It just kind of all the moments in the kind of middle of the film, the awards ceremony, which we'll get to. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but just simply just dazzling me with the lights, the camera, the flashes, all these kinds of techniques that Anderson kind of just shows here. But it's not a showy film for the sake of it. This is all part of the narrative, all part of the form of this, this particular film here. These characters, especially, Dirk Diggler, Eddie Adams, of course, going through this kind of rise to stardom, and it captures that so wonderfully, and it actually is part of the experience. And I'm experiencing these emotions, just in the form of cinema. Wow, you put the TV on, you watch a film, you put a disc in, and it's the most magical feeling when you see a film appearing on the screen. Just going back to the days of when I watched films as a kid, and this one here, you put a film in, and then you get a film like this. There's no better feeling than this. There's no more magical things that can happen, in my opinion, than films like this. This is just a dream come true. It really, really is. It's just so spiritual. It's such a kind of complex human film. Every single character, despite, for example, people's opinions on the industry, every single character in this film, all our main characters, Reed Rothschild, John C. Reilly playing him, Scotty J, Amber Waves, or Maggie, if you want to call her that as well. All these characters, Jack Horner, Eddie Adams, of course, being our protagonist. All of these characters are given such humanity, and they're all given dignity, and Anderson loves his characters. You can tell that. It's been noted that he loves his characters. Of course, it kind of feeds into these ideas of kind of creating roles for particular friends, kind of people he knows, people he just wants to give these roles to, and the love for that, and the respect for the actors as much as the characters. And it's all kind of part of this experience. It all kind of comes together, and into a piece of cinematic perfection beyond that. But yes, we see these first scenes, and Jack kind of recognizing something in Eddie, of course. Him being this guy from Torrance, traveling all of this way on the bus to wash dishes. There is obviously kind of an instant realization that this character, Eddie, he has dreams, and he just wants to be something more, and also to be accepted. This is just the kind of the same level of importance is the acceptance and the dreams that he actually has to be somebody, in a sense. And his parents, or his mother in particular, does not accept him. We have such powerful scenes. It really is unbelievable. The scenes when he's arguing with his mother, and she rips the posters down, and such a relatable, it's such a personal film, this, and I can really kind of draw on things, and kind of relate to many different moments in this film, to not be accepted, for you to be put down, for people to say, no, you can't do this, you have to do this, and you can't be this. This is what this character experiences, our protagonist, and such a kind of a different protagonist. Very, kind of, this is a traditional film, but a lot of the time it's not. It really breaks from that, and the protagonist is not exactly a character who is traditional. The usual traits you see in a protagonist, kind of you could relate to even intelligence, in this sense. He's not portrayed in that way, and it's just so unique and so relatable, though, in his struggles. And saying that, you have a couple of scenes in these first kind of in the first hour of the film that are obstacles for a protagonist. So again, very untraditional. Other than a couple of moments, we just have this pure rise to stardom, kind of saying no to every single obstacle, and just perhaps ignoring many things that could have been in a film up until this point, where, of course, later in the film we have a crash, we have a kind of a downfall, but this rise, seeing these interactions, Jack wants Eddie to kind of be part of this. Part of his films, and of course he takes him to this cafe, and of course we have Roller Girl. You also have a moment in the film where we kind of learn her actual name could be Brandy, and but Roller Girl is her name in the film, really, and of course Heather Graham playing her, such a great character as well, very sympathetic, and someone who again is not accepted, is treated poorly in the film by other characters early on. But again, you have a couple of these moments for many of the characters, and after that, it's just plain sailing to a point where yes, we do crash and we do kind of go down. But for so long, this is sustained, just kind of upbeat, pure joy, and it's very rare to see a film like that to actually just give in to the fantasy of this narrative and this lifestyle, and just for these characters to all be kind of going to a high, and riding this high, and just to a point where over an hour of the film it's just literally barely any obstacles, and it's just, I love what Anderson done here with that. It's just genius. It really, really is, and I think it's just very, very bold. This is a real bold film here. It's one of the boldest films I've ever seen. Some would call it perhaps too safe. I completely disagree. This is just unbelievable. But you see these characters, and just this character of Eddie. Once he kind of leaves his house, he goes to live in San Fernando Valley, with Jack in his place, and he becomes part of this family. And the initial 20-25 minutes, it's just, we've covered so much ground already in this film, and it's only 25 minutes in. We have just so much more to kind of go through, to experience. This is just pure, just a dream film. This, and to see the first interactions, Jack introducing Eddie to these different characters. We have the kind of really the first kind of opening act, you could say, is the kind of 45 minutes of the film. 40 minutes of the film. We have the kind of the pre-Paul scenes, and then during and after those, that kind of separates this kind of opening, real lengthy opening act, you could say, and then we go into the middle of the film. But seeing John C. Reilly's character, Reed Rothschild, the first interactions with these characters, is just, it's one of my favourite kind of friendships in cinema. I just look at this film, really thinking on this film. Very rarely have I kind of experienced a film where you have all these characters that I love so much. I love them basically more than so many different characters in films, and to see these interactions is so warm and fuzzy and magical and charming. And John C. Reilly, wow, at his best for me. He really is just one of my favourite characters in all the film. Reed Rothschild, of course, and Chess Rockwell. Eventually, he creates this other name as well, and yes, Brock Landers. We'll get to that, but it's so unbelievable here, and so beautiful to see the humanity of this, the kind of the magic of this, the kind of the charm of these interactions, and just a sense of wonder, the way the camera moves at that kind of pool party, and you see different characters following different characters, and that individual there, when she jumps into the pool, we got underwater, spill the wine, kind of really kicks in there, and it's just so epic, and just this new discovery every time I see it, just the way that the camera is moving, the immersion, the magic of just literally directing the eye in different scenarios in a specific way, to elevate a particular moment that could be in another film, just a simple basic generic moment. In this film, every single shot, every single frame is perfect, and it's just unique, and that's the important thing. It's unique, it's just true to the narrative, to the characters, and to Paul Thomas Anderson's vision. Every single character in this film, every single story beat, is just familiar but different, you could say, and it's that kind of perfect marriage of this, the perfect marriage of reality and fantasy, and it's kind of grittiness to it, you could say as well, the kind of grainy look, but also this kind of a wonderful, overwhelming at times, colourful look, the way this film was shot, just the way that this, of course being on film, but a very specific, way he captures this nostalgic feeling, but also this intensity, and just, seeing the pool party, and to see, of course, Reed Rothschild, his moment there when he jumps, we first of all have Dirk doing, the jackknife into the pool there, and then we have, of course, Reed Rothschild, so it's pretty good, and then his kind of full flip, and just when I first saw that scene, I've rarely laughed, more than that in a film, and Also, I forgot to mention, I saw this in February 2017. I then watched it 2 months later. I couldn't get enough of it with another family member. I watched it again December 2017 with yet another family member. I was just watching this on loop, and I couldn't get enough of it. I wanted to continue just seeing this film, experiencing it, and once again, this being my fourth watch. But I hadn't seen it for a few years, and all these different moments just come back to you, but just really grow to an even more of a mind-blowing and just magical level to the point where this film, for me now, I've realised is very, pretty much impossible to actually top for my love of it. And we'll get to the kind of where it is on my list roughly towards the end of the review. But just seeing these interactions, I just thought at this point, could it get better? And yeah, it completely does. The middle of the film, the middle kind of 45 minutes, is a real big chunk here that is just literally mind-blowing, magical, wonderful, just wow, genius, and just pure joy to see the rise of these characters. But also, yeah, you have these different, this family of outsiders. It's one of the big themes of this film. You have Jack Horner, who is essentially, he's the director, of course, of these films, but he is essentially a father figure to these characters, to these humans. That's what we're all portrayed as, in this film, and it's so pure in that sense. But Jack is essentially the father, of these different characters. We have, Amber being essentially the mother figure in some ways to these characters, and we have this whole unit here. The warmth of this is undescribable. I've never felt this with a film. To see, characters that aren't, necessarily related, but forming this family, it's just unbelievable. It's so wonderful. This is such a human film. It's so beautiful to see, and this is just. It's non-stop, just interactions, moments, the disco scenes. We're going a bit further into the film now, but yes, the disco scenes. Machine gun Commodores, playing, that whole kind of scene there, the sequence there, the disco, pure joy. It's unbelievable to see this, and just hearing that music, and yes, just it kind of pushing in at one point, and then we have Reed. Rothschild, John C. Reilly kind of doing his thing, and it's so magical. It's so kind of funny and just moving at the same time, constantly. Just based on how magical this is, how wonderful it is. In that way as well. It's just being so complex. There's so much I'm seeing every single time. Because it really goes by. It dazzles you. It kind of puts this spell on you. This. Kind of rise to stardom. It kind of has this effect that this character is going through. As a viewer, I'm experiencing, and then there's so much in this that it takes so many views to actually get just a few things from a particular scene, other than just wow, the initial kind of feelings. It's very hard to describe. But yes, just these pool party scenes as well. Before that, we have fooled around and fell in love. That whole moment there is just wonderful. We have, of course, Little Bill, the kind of tragedy already appearing of his character, which we'll get to soon. But this initial kind of 40 minutes or so, you have this moment when the kind of overdose moment as well. Very shocking. Again, taking that character out of the location there, the gate going there, and this character, he looks familiar. It's Philip Seymour Hoffman playing this character. He comes in, and then we have the song "You Sexy Thing" playing by Hot Chocolate, legendary band, and we have this initial epic moment, and then Scotty J is in the house. This epic, great character, who is introduced, and all these different moments, these interactions, the way the characters are introduced, they all have their own kind of moment, and it's just unforgettable, magical, and then of course the looking there, we instantly know, okay, right. This is this character who kind of has these feelings for Eddie, and this is such a wonderful film in the way that kind of identity is kind of treated, sexuality, and to see this character of Scotty J, it's truly uplifting. It's truly wonderful to see the way that Anderson gives a humanity to all these characters. Just gives every single character their own kind of arc and emotion and voice. It truly is beautiful, truly moving, just wonderful to witness. So many of these characters, are essentially troubled characters, troubled individuals who are seeking, acceptance, and at the same time have their own aspirations, and they have these dreams, and that is what the film is about so much to me. It's just dreams, and it explores this in such a way, so complex, yet so simple and direct in this, and just so free. This film opens with that tracking shot. Essentially, you could say tracking shots, one takes, are precise. They are, kind of really constructed techniques in cinema, but I think, or devices, you could say. But this film, it starts off with this, and it just kind of it has this free feeling, this sense of anything can happen, and anything will happen. It kind of just opens it up, and it kind of all expands from there. But it's such a free film in its form. The structure of the film. But it's about so many particular things, very precise, specific in its themes. But it's at the same time, there's so many things that he juggles. Anderson, just unbelievably so. He is a god, of cinema for me. But seeing all these characters, it's about their dreams, their kind of struggles, but them banding together, this family bond, this unit, and they all help each other out, and there's such a beautiful warm feeling in that. But also it's about the film industry in general, filmmaking, specifically the porn industry, adult film industry, and also about the transition to video format, and very, very interesting as well. Very beautifully captured. And it's all about there are some specifics. But it's all how the characters are viewing this, how they're interacting, how they're reacting, and how they're kind of experiencing personal issues, and just as well in the kind of career sense, and it all kind of meshes so perfectly. It's so perfectly formed. This is one of the one of the perfectly realised films. This is truly perfect, I feel, and to see so many themes in this film, it whizzes by. There's a sense of it's every single time it's just so overwhelming, but you just kind of try to absorb it the best way you can, and to see the kind of way in which it's just so layered, but so simple and so enjoyable to experience. It's not a film that ever has a moment where it kind of is lesser. Every single act, despite the kind of shift in tone, is so wonderful to see. I just love every single frame of this film. It truly is one of my absolute favourites. But you see how the characters, especially Jack, is reacting to this, and but at the same time we have this rise, of course, that goes throughout the entire film, the rise and fall. Essentially, the central protagonist here being Eddie, or Dirk Diggler, and we see these initial scenes where they make that they're filmed there, and that is just, it's such a kind of bold, daring, kind of sequence there, very lengthy as well in itself, and it's just it has comedy in there, the kind of Scotty J's reactions to this, one of the funniest things I've ever seen, but I love how Scotty is just given this, Scotty J is given this kind of all these characters, accepting wherever other characters perhaps, or other people would not accept him. They all feel like this family who are all kind of caring, and have Amber, of course, being the mother figure of the film essentially, and she this is the most caring role in the film, and just to see how she treats these characters, it really is lovely to see, and just seeing all these people, this crew, but these and it's a kind of exploration of filmmaking, in a general sense. Porn films, they're films. It's all filmed. It's still, essentially the same process in that way. But yes, they're kind of they're making this, but it's the humans behind this, the humans within this that kind of. That's the heart of the film. This is just such a kind of a wonderful film to see, for the level of the humanity that is kind of given to every single character. It's complex, it's simple, it turns darker, but it's so uplifting, it's so wonderful, so magical. It's everything, this film, to me, and the middle of the film, when we have these, moving on a bit, we have these kind of scenes that are just constantly going and going, and it's just, how can you top this scene here? And it just comes straight away, and it's just so epic, mind-blowing. I just cannot believe this film, but it just goes and goes and goes. The middle of the film, it could be my favourite part, but I love every single part of the film, and even when it turns darker, you have these, you could say in a way, magical scenes, which we'll get to. Sister Christian, yes, indeed. If you've seen the film, you know what I'm on about there. But yes, truly unbelievable. This middle act, we see these awards, the award ceremonies, and have these epic and hilarious moments, and of course, dazzling camera techniques. Just constantly going music. That is just some of my favourite tracks. From this, of course, specifically the 70s and 80s. We have playing over this, and also quickly mention, Joy, Apollo 100. That track is just so epic and kind of fantastical as well, and that scene is just wow. But yes, you have Machine Gun as well playing, but Magnet and Steel. This track and the way it's used and the meaning that it has. Seeing, of course, when they're in the vehicle there, discussing the characters of Brock Landers and Chess Rockwell, and Jack's reaction there, they're laughing there. But that sequence there, when they're just, it's showing creativity, someone creating an idea, and all agreeing on it, and just kind of committing to it, and it just sums up so much of life, filmmaking. But it's just so beautiful. It captures so beautifully, so wonderfully. It's such a kind of pure way, how people are, kind of sharing their ideas, accepting their ideas, and kind of all teaming up to kind of realise these ideas. Despite the kind of specific subject matter of their their actual industry, there is no judgment made. This is the thing. It's such a non-judgmental film. I just hats off to this guy, Anderson, and to create such an honest and pure film here, and just really no judgment made on these characters. He's showing it. He's not making a judgment, and we'll get to different things later in the film. Some of the characters make different choices. Even just Buck, that comes to mind. The kind of the mixture of emotions that we feel, but seeing this scene of Magnet and Steel, and then the ceremony once again playing out, and you see this speech by Mark Wahlberg's character, Dirk Diggler, and his just this kind of experience, this feeling I get from this is just so epic and just magical. Wow, to see this, and let's keep rocking and rolling, and then once again playing that song, and that kick, that moment there, when he kicks in the air, and you see the lighting, the shroud of just the blue there, lighting. He's this mythic character, this legend. This organically portrays this guy washing dishes, at a nightclub, not accepted by his mother in particular, and of course, all these different things going on, rising to become essentially this legend. Again, despite the industry, no judgment made, just showing these humans. That's what they are. These are human individuals, but they're a team as well. They're this family, and but to see that kick, that is one of the kind of most epic, just pumping scenes, moments in all of cinema history. Just every time I get the shivers, and the way the music kicks back in there. But you just have scenes like this constantly going, and these characters, the rise to stardom, just this glorious time, the 70s, discos, and the industry, of course. All these people just being free, together, just kind of experiencing the joys of this, and his. The kind of escaping, for Eddie to kind of escape from his troubled home life, to not be accepted, to then be accepted by all these characters. It's truly wonderful to see. It's so moving, so emotional. It just brings me to tears. And then, of course, we have, the kind of way in which we have essentially a kind of, you could say a fake kind of moment where, well, it kind of builds up all the 80s, bring on the 80s. We have Ain't No Stopping Us Now playing, and we have this kind of moment, and the banners, and they're kind of about to celebrate the new year into the 80s, and we have this, oh, okay, we're going to carry on going jolly upbeat, kind of magical way, and no. Then we have Little Bill, finally, and this depression, another theme in the film. This, just this struggle, his kind of the way he is treated in particular, and this character here has had enough. He does not take it, and this unhinged character, just acts out this brutal, just unfortunate act here, and as we know, we have another tracking shot. This time, wow, even more immersive, you could say, and he goes to the car, not leaving this character for a second here. Little Bill. He gets his gun, and he shoots his wife, the individual with her, and then himself, just as they're counting down into the decade. So that is a turning point in the film. And then we have the downturn. We have the rise, and now we have the fall. That's kind of portrayed in such a way. Again, characters, experiencing different, yes, joyous moments, kind of magical scenes playing out. But again, now we have more darker moments coming into play, and the struggle with drugs really comes into play there, and the riding the high, the kind of false sense of reality, the kind of this will last forever. The excess of this, comes to, it has its consequence. This is when the characters start to feel the consequence of this lifestyle, of this constant riding, this high, literally, and cocaine, comes into play a lot more here, and then of course Mark Wahlberg, his character of Eddie Adams, Dirk Diggler, he becomes unhinged, he's really out of control, drugs, and just this general sense of, his ego takes over, and has really, kind of tragic outcomes, these interactions, of course, but all these different characters, Amber, Roller Girl as well, are all kind of, fueled on these drugs, and this excess lifestyle, and it becomes so much to the point where many of these characters crash. They hit a low point, and it's a really sincere and honest depiction of this when it happens, and it really is, because you've had this high for the whole film, this uplifting, just dazzling feeling, fantastical feeling. When this does happen, the fall, the downturn, it really is just so much more powerful and affecting and shocking, actually. And of course, eventually, Eddie, or Dirk Diggler, he has this argument, this fight with Jack and different characters, and then of course they split up. He's no longer working for Jack at a point on these films. He brings in a new guy, and around this time as well, we have Thomas Jane as Todd Parker, an essential character, one of my favourite kind of characters that comes into the second half in this film, and he essentially is a friend of Reed Rothschild, and he comes into it, and this trio essentially, this is kind of the new trio of the film, and it's just so, seeing the friendships and the way that other characters come in and kind of have a ripple effect, kind of, you could say Scotty J is kind of pushed to one side a little bit, at these points, but not really. But seeing Thomas Jane in the picture, he is legendary in this film. Again, his best performance for me, and this character of Todd Parker, so cool, so cool, and Driver's Seat, that song when that plays, that kind of moment there, epic stuff, shivers up the spine, just unbelievable, feelings, and it's a cool moment, epic moment. Also, at the same time, the genius, so complex here, the tragic kind of distancing from between Jack and Eddie in particular, and this family being broken up. These broken individuals forming this family originally, and then for it to break up, but then of course, as we know in the end, mostly coming back together in an even more solid and kind of true way, actually, which we'll get to. With all this excess, all these things out of the way, they really, it's kind of, it really is living out and continuing to live the fantasy that we felt, and realizing, at the same time, it wasn't so much a fantasy, but it was shrouded by this excess and these different fantastical feelings that kind of blinded particular characters, but then for them to form in the end, as a true family, and for many of the characters to stay kind of in the same company, it's truly one of the most satisfying endings. But yes, seeing Todd Parker, all these different moments, Eddie and and Reed, they kind of go off and they kind of want this to kind of hit this kind of expand, and kind of be these artists, the music industry, and it doesn't kind of go too well for them in that sense. Seeing that, it's just this struggle as well that's kind of portrayed after this initial rise to power, to stardom. We have these characters trying it again, starting, but they're really unhinged. They're kind of out of control, and they're kind of at a low point, and that kind of really hits its peak when we see this whole kind of massive sequence, juxtaposing different characters, all these different characters at once, all these storylines, these threads going on at the same time. We have, Jack, desperation actually is a big theme in this, in these parts of the film. We have Jack, kind of wanting to do these experimental ways of, making these films, and we have Roller go in the car there, that scene, of course, and she meets that character that was, in her class at school, and he kind of says, you're Brandy, I know you, and that whole sequence there. It's just so sad to see these characters at this point, but the outbursts, by Jack, when of course the remark is made, saying that his pictures, criticising his pictures, saying that they're rubbish, kind of now, and that criticism is a big part of the film that comes in later, these parts into the film. All these characters simply are, perception of these characters, they are now taking notice of criticism, and they are not just ignoring this, perhaps, and riding this high. They are now being affected by this, and by the kind of the opposition of society, jealousy coming into this through the different characters, but also other people being jealous of these characters and then reacting and taking things too far. But that moment there, they beat that character up. Jack's reaction here, Burt Reynolds, his performance here, it's this warm character, this father figure, but really as well, you're showing the anger of this character, different outbursts, and to see his reaction there, that moment, is one of the best pieces of acting I've ever seen. But so many of these scenes, when they discuss the dreams, of course, and in that kind of in that scene with the four of them early on, and just seeing that, it's just the blocking in this film is perfect, capturing these conversations, and just the epic scope to the film, portrayed through the cinematography, the editing, and the overall narrative. Every single element of filmmaking, every device, every technique, and all these different feelings that is cinema, it comes together, bounces off, weaves, is as one, expands, blows up, kind of contracts, goes all over, but it's all constantly there, all at once. It's such a genius film, this, but seeing these characters, we also have kind of Buck, who is this character who, as we've kind of not mentioned, he is obsessed with his stereo system, and I love the early scenes as well. I forgot to mention when he's in the kind of store that he works at there, and the kind of the comedy there with the music he plays, but he has this dream as well, and seeing the donut shop there, and we know at this point that Jesse and him have formed this relationship, and it's wonderful to see, and these relationships in the film are beautiful, but seeing this one in particular is very moving, but we know what's at stake for him. He's refused this loan as well by the bank, and we see he's at rock bottom as well, and he takes this money essentially. We learn that this kind of explosive moment leads to money being there, and he takes it, and essentially that is one of the things that leads to his dreams being achieved, but it doesn't judge this moment, and it's just a really complex situation for him, and for Jessie as well, and just specifically for their situation, and she's pregnant at this point, and that's really lovely to see how the passage of time is kind of portrayed in this film. The flow of this is so unique, but to see the 70s, the 80s, but to see and to not see different moments, and now we learn that, of course, they are they're having this kid. It's beautiful, it really is, and so you have these feelings of happiness for these characters, but then of course the complexities. But in the end, Buck, getting his stereo store, and for him to achieve his dream, I was nothing but happy for Buck, for Don Cheadle, his character, and the best Don Cheadle performance for me, easily actually. And we have Melora Waters as Jessie. She is wonderful in this film, so good. But Buck is one of my favourite characters, and to see him, in the end, achieve this kind of this happiness, it's purely uplifting. Despite, of course, his choices, it makes no judgment on this. It just shows it, and it lets you decide this. But seeing that character, his way out, and the kind of outcome of all these different characters is so beautiful. But yes, to see this middle segment of the film, how it leads into this kind of fall, and the desperation, and the kind of the struggles of the characters is so, it really turns into this kind of dark and kind of nightmarish, experience later on in the film. But one of the later scenes, in this film, that I think is one of the absolute best, for me in all of cinema. It's just the drug deal scene, where Alfred Molina, is in the film, and he's this drug dealer, and with, of course, Todd Parker, and the other characters, of course, Eddie and Reed, kind of, they want to, they're going to this house to make this deal, and of course we learn that Todd brings a gun, and these characters, are desperate, of course, but we have this sense of greed as well, and Todd makes this move that really costs his life, and it's very tragic, of course. But this scene here, or known as the Sister Christian scene, is one of the absolute best in all of cinema. It's just unbelievable. It's hilarious. It's one of the most tense, nightmarish, hellish experiences. We have the kind of comedic build-up, as well as a kind of anxiety to this, the kind of remarks, of course, the worries of the characters, the concerns, but John C. Reilly tripping up the stairs there, it's just hilarious. And but then we go into this, as soon as they enter the house, enter this house here, we have kind of like a kind of they are stuck in this this nightmarish moment, this kind of this hell, portrayal of hell. Really, it's something where you enter it, and it just builds up, and you can't get out. You can't. It's just a feeling of being trapped, and it's kind of a film within a film, you could say, actually. But the level of tension here, that is, sparked initially as an idea in our mind, through concerns of the characters, through dramatic irony, through this the sense of drugs, being drug-fueled characters here. Alfred Molina, of course, just gives such a kind of insane performance here. It really feels like you're watching someone gone out of control with drugs, and this character who could snap at any point. But we have the comedy to it as well at the same time. We have sustained tension, and it's just builds and builds and builds to the point where it's unbearable. And we have this, which we'll get to soon, this small moment within this, where the character of Eddie, it kind of lingers on him, lingers on Eddie, Dirk, if you will. Mark Wahlberg's face, and it's literally just this gaze, this stare, and it could be the drugs, it could be this, it could be that, it's all, everything really. But this character, of Eddie is clearly master control at this point, and but to see this kind of this sequence here, it's one of my favourites. Sister Christian, starts to play, and we learn that Alfred Molina's character, he basically is using these mixtapes and stuff, and we have at the same time as all these different moments, the exchanges, the kind of intensity of this sequence, in terms of comedy and tension, and kind of all these different moments. The individual with the gun as well, his kind of his bodyguard, or kind of thing, and his the kind of the escalation of Todd, his intentions there, of course Thomas Jane, what a performance here. But all these things going on, while at the same time we have firecrackers going off in the background constantly, Alfred Molina's character, he is not reacting to this until the music stops, and then he remarks on this. But it's this bizarre kind of scene in this sense where this is going on. He's not reacting. The other characters are all reacting constantly, and you have this all going on. The music stopping and zooming in there, moving into the kind of the mixtape, the machine there, and it's just kind of this moment of silence and this kind of hesitation, and then the kind of reaction from this character, this drug dealer here. It's just, it scares me every time. Then he's kind of the sense that he's being aware of different things. And he is just at the same time, this whole kind of surreal experience here. But the firecrackers adding tension, adding comedy at the same time, and just the remarks throughout the scene are so funny. And then of course it builds to a point. We have Jesse's Girl playing. Rick Springfield, just a legendary song. Again, these are some of my favourite songs, by the way, in this film. So many of them, from the 70s and 80s, you have a mixture. It's just wonderful to see and to hear. But every single song, is part of the very nature of the film and the narrative. But we have Jesse's Girl playing after that, and this sustained sequence, this epic, massive sequence, and then of course, we have the exchange. There's the escalation where Todd, is pressing this character. Alfred Molina's character is then, he changes, the tone there changes. He's no longer joking around, the moment where he says, I love the song, and, just hold on this bit, remarking, just commenting on this song, it's just hilarious. But then, when it kind of changes, it's just unbearable tension and like a nightmare, wow. And then, of course, we have the bit where they try to get out, and unfortunately Todd, he meets his end there, by this character, and then the other two, Eddie and Reed, they make it out, and they run off, and so shortly after that we have finally the reconciling of, they kind of once again forming this interaction here. Eddie is in desperation here. He is, he's got nowhere else to go, and he goes to Jack Horner, and for all this kind of time they've been separated, we have this kind of satisfying feeling that they are finally once again back, and they hug, and it's such a beautiful moment there, so warm and uplifting to see that moment there, and it's such a perfect placement there. It's just right, so satisfying, and not too late after they've separated, and then of course once again they all kind of form up. But speaking of these characters forming up, originally it's so interesting to kind of once again I picked up on this. Maurice, is in the beginning of the film, he is the boss essentially of Eddie, and then of course Louis Guzmán, he plays Maurice, the owner of this nightclub, and it's so funny to see, ironic as well to see, originally he's the boss, the one that is kind of in control of Eddie, and they're all connected to these other characters. He's obviously been there more than a kind of a day or so. He's been amongst these characters, of course, and they're all kind of in the background. John C. Reilly, of course, all these characters in the opening scene, kind of dancing and this lifestyle. And Eddie is kind of in the background. He's been there washing dishes, and it's just really amazing to see that these characters kind of crossed paths in a way without kind of interacting before this, and that is explored in a way more specifically and more heavily in Magnolia, which we'll get to. But that's a great little kind of spark of that, and I love how we look back to the different moments. At least I do. And kind of at the beginning of the film, and how before and then kind of during and after as well. I'm wondering what would happen after the film ends. It's so wonderful. I'm so invested in these characters. It's just wow. It's a dream film, this, and but seeing that kind of wonderful kind of the montage sequences at the end. God only knows. The Beach Boys, one of the absolute greatest bands of all time for me, I would say that, and God only knows plays in this kind of montage. We see the different characters, and most of these characters we know that kind we've been following get this satisfying ending and get the kind of this happiness, and it's wonderful to see. For example, Buck finally gaining this what he wanted all along, and for him to be, he now has a son with Jesse, the only one in the film that kind of truly accepted him, in this way, and they kind of had that connection. At first as well, you could say that Buck is with this other character, Becky, and they're not really, kind of as one in that sense. But when he meets Jessie, she is one that really truly, kind of, they have this connection, and it's really, the romantic feeling of that, that kind of thread is really, really uplifting as well, and beautiful the way it ends. And then you have, Reed Rothschild as well, kind of interacting with them, all this kind of wonderful, these wonderful moments of them just, kind of, again, this family, expanding as well. We have this kid that they've had now, Buck and Jesse, and it's so moving. In that final, tracking shot there that we have with that song playing and leading in, of course, as well. The big top once again playing this beautiful spiritual piece that is used in these different moments in the film. Following this character of Jack, the father of the film essentially, and all these different characters, these subtle interactions, the wrapping up of these characters, all these threads, the culmination of all these characters, and how it all ends up for them, is a continuation that happens. There is a change in this film, its narrative, masterful change in the writing, and the tone, the style, it's all here. The soundtrack, the kind of the feeling in terms of the fantasy and the realism, the shifting so intricately and so purely. But then we have all these different characters wrapping up, and we have they've gone through this change, but there is this constant as well, and the continuation, and that is such a great way to end this film. It's so perfect because we have this change, we have the looking back to how things were and how things are now, and looking forward to wondering about these characters and see where they would go after the film. And that is the mark of a genius film, where you care so much that you just want to know what happened before, what happened after, and even if you never get it, for the rest of your life, you are satisfied. That is Boogie Nights. But to see this final shot here, the tracking shot, we actually see this kind of portrait of Little Bill, the character, of course, that we know died early on in the film. And for them to have that framed, it's a really lovely, touching moment. And William H Macy, again, just he is one of the defining characters in the film. A tragic character, truly sympathetic, and that moment there brings tears to my eyes. All amongst this whole, kind of, this is emotional enough, but to see that, it's just, it's beautiful, and it's so subtle, and you're human there, nuanced. And then we see that last exchange between Jack and Amber, and also Roller Girl as well. You're getting told to kind of tidy her room up. It's also satisfying. It's just so glorious the way the film ends. Then we have the final scene. Probably one of my 10 favourite endings of all time, actually, and we have the bring back of this kind of inspirational line, in a slightly different context, but it's all the same. It's all about dreams, this film, and determination, and just doing it in your own way. But the family of them all doing it together, in that sense, and just. But this these final moments, the line that's brought back, said earlier on in the film, that he's going to be somebody. He's, a big, bright, shining star, and it's brought back in a slightly different way, but it's brought back again, a perfect way, to end the film, and for him to then, of course, we have that moment as well, and then you hear this kind of music, just the of course, the wonderful song that plays, the final song of the film, excluding, of course. The big top once again returning, stuff in the credits, but the actual the final song of the film, in that sense, is "Living Thing" by ELO, and for me, again, one of the best bands, so underrated, and their best song here playing, and what perfect, what a way to end the film. We have this playing, and it's just a perfect song to use. It's obviously an epic, just mind-blowing song for me. And just the lyrics, though, you look back in time to the first day. That's a key moment, in the lyrics, in that song. The end of the film, the credits, you contemplate. For me, I hate it when people at the cinema just go out, without watching the credits. Especially with really special films. But just credits to me, really are an important part, of film experience. Just when they are, there in that sense, and credits like this, and I think. It's always a case for me, to contemplate the film and obviously honouring those that took part in it, and just our hats off and admiration for everyone involved in this magic trick, this wonderful gift of a project. But it's always a contemplative moment, and even more so when you hear these kind of lyrics, and it just look back in time to the first day. It kind of makes me just obviously a bit on the nose, but it does. It just makes me think back to the beginnings of the film and these characters, how far we've come. This journey, through this lifestyle, all these things going on, the change, how far we've come. But there is a sense that again, things are constant. Things will carry on, just in a slightly different way. But it's so, looking back in time, and it's just looking back. And again, this film, is so nostalgic. It really is, as I've said, and through music, through the costumes, through the way that these characters are interacting. It's just a different time. It's just a wonderful, glorious, kind of celebration, and of course as well, showing the kind of consequences of different actions, various lifestyles. But it's just such a wonderful celebration, and it's very bold actually. I feel to kind of do this for so long, to have, as I said, the whole kind of over an hour of the film. It's just constantly uplifting, joyous, kind of upbeat, jolly kind of celebration scenes. Kind of just wow. It's very bold to do that, because a lot of people would expect, I guess, not me potentially, but other people would expect a film to have this and have that and these rules. Well, we say no to rules. For me, I really, I love how Anderson has just gone his own way. He's took inspiration. He's had, he's made traditional kind of, he's used traditional aspects, filmmaking, and done his own thing on it. But he has also just said, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to kind of do it my own way, and we'll do this. And we won't do that necessarily. We'll do what makes sense. And it's just, I admire this film so much. I love this film so much. I respect Anderson, and he's also just a guy who accepts all cinema. That's just brilliant. It really is. It's just that extra bonus thing when one of your favourite filmmakers is just so accepting and just so welcoming and inspiring, and just saying, you can do it. Anyone can do it, and it just is part of it. But the film speaks for itself. We're wrapping up now. Probably gone over an hour already. But Boogie Nights. What can I say? This is truly one of the most special films for me, and just to see the ending as well. As I say, it blows me away. It just gives me shivers. I'm crying. I'm just smiling, and I'm shaken, and I'm just in a spiritual state. And just to see, this is the second film that Paul Thomas Anderson made, feature film, of course. He was very young, 27, and wow, how, but again, it's very honest and sincere, and you can see all of it. It just takes, because there's so much going on. It's just, again, it's still kind of this. I'm in a state of awe at this film. Just Paul Thomas Anderson. How did he do it? But so proud. And just I'm so honoured to have seen this film and to be able to talk about this film. On YouTube, anyone can type it in and find this, and it'd be great to discuss, with you viewers, on this film. Paul Thomas Anderson. There's a massive fan base out there, a very strong fan base for this guy, and it's great to see. It really, really is, because I am so in admiration for this guy, one of my heroes, and this film here. You can kind of guess if it's my favourite, but we'll see. I won't say. But yes, this film, it means everything to me. It has so much going on. It's about filmmaking, and it's just about life in general, specifically as well, the porn industry, just the lifestyle, the excess, it's portrayed all these elements, filmmaking, of course, writing, acting, blocking, lighting, editing, music. It's all it kind of works as one. It's so complete. It's beyond cinematic perfection. It's one of them films actually. James Bond, is the reason why I continued after my kind of experiment or test video in 2017. I've said this before. I continued because I watched James Bond again, and I thought, I've always loved James Bond. I want to talk about films on YouTube. I'll give it another go. That was the kind of the franchise, the thing that kind of made me carry on and actually make a proper video. Boogie Nights, it could be the film, along with maybe A Clockwork Orange, but it's really the main reason I originally planned. And I just thought, I just want to be able to talk to people and to express my feelings, to log my thoughts through this platform on Boogie Nights. That'd be great. I'm going to create a YouTube channel. So Boogie Nights, kind of not only has it inspired me, in all ways of life, filmmaking, but it's also, really the main reason I actually wanted to start talking about films on YouTube. This is easily one of my top 15 films of all time. And I say my top 16 are kind of my top 10 because they kind of shift, they shuffle, they're kind of joint for my love of them. But this is easily in my top 16, easily top 15. Is it in my top 10? Find out when I do my lists, of course. But this is up there with the absolute finest magnum opuses of all time in all of cinema. This is one of the films that actually made me create, originally the Tier S, rating, when I rate films. So obviously, once again, it's a magnum opus. I watched this on my birthday for a reason. 100% plus Tier S. This is one of the absolute peaks of cinema. This is genius, made by a god of cinema. Admiration for this guy. Hats off. It's a truly moving experience. It's a spiritual experience, epic. Seeing this legend, this mythic character, all these different characters, friendship, loyalty, legacy, acceptance. These different themes of identity, acceptance, isolation. Just depression. It's all something you can relate to. At least some people can. I relate to this film so much. The moments where the posters are ripped, and the kind of opposition from, his mother, Eddie's mother. It's so, this is such a true film. It really is. It's moving to see that scene. It's moving to see different moments in the film. These characters have dreams, and they, of course, are not, by some accepted. They're not inspired. They're not encouraged. But others, they are. And this family that forms of outsiders. Of those that aren't accepted because of a bias, on a particular, in this film, an industry, but other things as well, and for them to form this family and for this beautiful film to unfold. It's epic. It's very nearly the most energetic film I've ever seen. Some parts, the film until the kind of final act, but even then, it's just non-stop. It's just I get a buzz of this. This is magic. It's a magical, nostalgic, awe-inspiring film. It's a legend, and it's made by an absolute legend. By the age of 30, Paul Thomas Anderson made Hard Eight. He made this film, and he made Magnolia, which we'll talk about next. Cannot wait. Magnolia, yes indeed. But yeah, this film here, a magnum opus, no doubt. If I had not expanded my tiers, originally a few years ago, this would still be one of the films that I made this tier for. It's that special, and that was less than 20 films at that point. So, yeah, if you haven't seen this film, give it a go. I'd recommend, please. I urge you, because this is just wow. It's a miracle, this film, and it's just literally beyond perfection. I don't care about the word perfect. It's beyond that. It's just. It really is. It just defines cinema. It's one of them films, maybe on maybe top 10 films that just inspire me the most. And in just viewing this film, it's an experience like no other. It means so much to me. It's so moving, beautiful. uplifting, epic, and a comedy as much as a drama. The tone of this is another thing, breaking from a convention of, you've got to do this. What is the tone? At times I struggle. It just is Boogie Nights. It's genius, it really is. And yes, we wrap up. This is so much. The characters, the soundtrack, one of the best, one of my favourite 20 soundtracks, in all of cinema, using these songs. And wow, the script, it could be one of the top 10 scripts actually of all time. For me, it's just Paul Thomas Anderson, wow. I bow down and just thank you. Truly, a lifesaver actually. A true lifesaver. I mean that. This guy. He is a master, a god, and creating this film specifically. We'll get to his other work, which is just mind blowing. Constantly just wow. This guy. We've not even kind of got two films so far, and already at this point. But again, I'm not saying the other films top this. Find out if any of them do. But this film being one of my top 15 easily, you could maybe see, you could guess, you could kind of again, you may be wrong, but this film here, Boogie Nights, it is one of the true magnum opuses for me, and it's just it's magical. It is magic. This is magic. It just it's one of the milestone films, and I'm still riding the high to this, since February 2017, just in different stages, different forms, kind of variations, and once again seeing this in August, for my birthday. Once again, it's taken on, kind of another form, and I always listen to the soundtrack, and just constantly on loop sometimes, and just reliving these emotions, these kind of visual moments, as well as these feelings that I can't describe actually, and it's just such a spiritual, film, and just it's Boogie Nights. What do you think? What do you think of this film? This is again one of the reasons I started the channel, to talk about Paul Thomas Anderson's films, and again to talk about Boogie Nights in particular. Again, this was the second film that I saw from him, so there is that, the kind of. That's when I started to think, I want to make a YouTube channel. So it'd be great to know your thoughts on this film, and wow, it'd be a privilege to speak to you about Magnolia, the master I love so much. These films, they're so wonderful. Just beautiful films. Punch Drunk Love, Inherent Vice is so interesting, that film. There'll Be Blood, I've named these films. I haven't seen Phantom Thread yet. I've been waiting to kind of go through these and review them and then watch that for the first time. But I own it, and but I would love to talk to you about these films, and what do you think of Boogie Nights? What's your opinion? For me, it's easily one of my top 15, and it's very nearly the pinnacle of cinema for me, Boogie Nights. So yes, it'd be great to know. What do you think of this film? I've said, for now, all I need to say, and in case you didn't know, yes, I truly love this film, and this is just bold. This is just, it's an epic film. This guy is a legend. This is lightning in the bottle. This is just, he captures so much that he's learned at this point. But just to see this, it's just so free. This film is so beautiful. These characters, Philip Seymour Hoffman. You were a legend. You are a legend, and one of my heroes. And it's so sad that he's no longer with us. But Philip Seymour Hoffman, wow, truly wonderful. And Scotty J, one of my favourite characters. John C. Reilly, Burt Reynolds, once again, a tribute to him. He was wonderful, and his best performance. And yes, Heather Graham, Louis Guzmán, Don Cheadle, just so amazing in this film. And wow, the cast in this film, of course, just Julianne Moore, wow, and of course Mark Wahlberg, in his best performance. Mark Wahlberg here, absolutely his best, and just wow, this film, Boogie Nights. We'll wrap up, we'll end it there, and yes, I've said all I need to say. I've talked about this film for over an hour, but just to kind of remind you viewers, or just to say, what do I think of this film in a nutshell? I've said so much, but I just say I'll leave it on the note. I fucking love Boogie Nights. This is a magnum opus to me, and yes, thanks for watching.